Let's go back now to the breaking news out of Baltimore today as we were reporting Cesar Goodson, the police van driver accused of taking Freddie Gray on a quote-unquote rough ride after the 25-year-old was arrested last year. Officer Goodson faced 7 charges, including second-degree murder. This was the most serious for the 6 officers charged. Prosecutors argued Goodson intentionally caused Gray's severe spinal injuries with reckless driving, but the judge said their evidence just could not prove that. So with me now, Baltimore Sun reporter Justin Fenton, who was on this story from the get-go, and with us, civil rights attorney and former prosecutor Charles Coleman Jr. So welcome to both of you. And Justin, first, just quickly on just some color from the courtroom. You were inside. How did Officer Goodson react, and if there were any members of Freddie Gray's family?
Yeah, Officer Goodson placed his hand over his heart and looked up after the verdict was read. He had supporters in the courtroom, shook hands with them. 2 of them were fellow officers charged in the case. Freddie Gray's stepfather attended. We weren't able to talk to him, but we expected that the family attorney will be issuing a statement.
Can you, just staying with you, Justin, the judge not buying the rough ride theory that he was, intentionally jostled around, unbuckled in the back of this police van? Why didn't the judge buy the prosecution's argument?
Yeah, he said it was a very serious accusation and that they weren't able to back it up with their evidence. In fact, one of the key pieces of evidence that they presented was a video of the van sort of rolling through a stop sign and taking a wide turn. He said that after watching the video many times, he wasn't even sure that the van didn't actually stop at that stop sign. So he said that they came well short of proving that this was an intentional act. But moreover, he said that the lesser counts, the reckless endangerment, sort of the idea that he didn't take care of Freddie Gray, that it was foreseeable what would happen, that the state hadn't met their burden to prove those charges. So, this really seems to have implications for a lot of the other cases. Officer Goodson, everything he was charged with, all the allegations sort of encompass what other officers are charged with to a lesser degree. So it remains to be seen how the state can proceed with the other cases.
That's a great point. We'll loop back on that in a second. But Charles, turning to you, and just again to underscore people who are watching, of all 6 officers facing charges, this was the officer who faced, the strongest charges possible. If anyone would be convicted on something, but you would think it would be him. None of them. Were you surprised?
I was, but I wasn't, and you're absolutely correct. This was the home run that the prosecution needed to hit. This was the big case that they needed a conviction on if they had any real chance of sustaining a conviction on the remaining 2 officers. These were the most serious charges against the officer who they believe was most culpable for being responsible for Freddie Gray's death. The fact that they were not able to secure a conviction in this case does not bode well for the remaining 2 officers.
What happens there?
Well, it's a question.
2 more left, right?
If you recall, when Edward Nero was acquitted a couple of weeks ago, we sat and we talked, and I predicted on this very show that we were likely to see other officers opt to have bench trials.
That's
and
right.
I think that was sort of the blueprint that had been laid for securing an acquittal.
By the way, bench trial, no jury.
Correct.
That's just the judge, just to remind everyone.
A question of law, not a question of fact.
Yep.
Typically, when you have a question of law, it's a question of fact. It's did this person do it, and then are they guilty? When you're talking about a question of law in a bench trial, it's just the person has admitted, hey, this is what I did, but it is not illegal. I'm not criminally liable for this. And the judge has to make a determination as to what that is. And in this case, Judge Williams found, in fact, that he was not criminally liable. And so I think what we're going to see again are likely 2 more bench trials and very possibly 2 more acquittals.
Acquittals. Yes. Justin, you're there in Baltimore. I mean, you saw everyone come out last year, and now it seems to me, I've been watching the pictures, pretty quiet. What's the reaction been from folks who live in the city?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a sense since last year that what happened was a very unique phenomenon. It was building on what was happening in other cities. I think to a certain extent people did expect this outcome. I polled my Twitter followers last night. I got about 700 votes. I know that's unscientific, but 65% of the people thought that he was going to be acquitted on all charges. And you talk to people in the community, they felt that result was going to happen as well. There's a feeling that officers are not held accountable criminally when things like this happen. The state's attorney's office with this case was trying to change the paradigm. They were trying to say that when these types of things happen, it's not merely a civil lawsuit, it's not merely administrative penalties, but that there should be criminal penalties. But so far with this case, Judge Williams has said that they don't have the evidence to convict these officers.
Okay, Justin Fenton with the Baltimore Sun. Thank you, sir, and Charles Coleman Appreciate you swinging by. Thank you very much.
Thanks, bro.
Coming up, much more on